Welcome back to the Schmitter 100 Acre Woods. It's been a little bit since I've done a video at the sawmill, but basically we cut down or got another tree that went down in the storm. So I have part of it here. So need some 14-foot boards. So I have about a 16 to 17-foot log here. Not the greatest looking log, but we'll be able to get some 2x6s out of it, which is what we're up trying to get out of it now. We just milled up some 2x4s out of a smaller tree we had. So by the time we got it, all the scrap off, I only ended up with about 8 of those, but got some. And then we have one more log down here that's a piece of poplar that we'll get on the mill and get some more 2x4s out of it. That's kind of the main thing we're looking for, are some true 2x4s now. We're still working on getting some 1x6s, but since they'll be kind of outside, siding pieces, we want to get a tree that doesn't have quite as many knots in it, just because that's going to then reflect in what you have. But kind of on the new tallies, we have 4 2x6x14s we need to get, and those will be like the gutter pieces. And then for his chicken coop, he wants some true 2x4s. He needs about 14 of them that are 12 foot long. They don't have to be that long. That was going to be the tallest wall, so he needs just a few of them, but we're going to cut them all around that size. I think the most of them are going to be like 8 foot long, so I'll be able to use most of these over here. So, but this will get milled up. This was still connected to the root and was kind of in a sinkhole, so had quite a bit of tear out here on getting whenever we cut the root off. So there's going to be a big chunk there that we're not going to be able to use, but the bottom half of that's still pretty good. So we're just going to mill, we're going to rotate and mill what we can off, so that we can kind of square that up and get what we can out of it. So it's been a little bit since we've run the mill. We had the issue with the blade, and we cut those 2x4s there after we changed that assembly out over there. I think we've gotten everything squared away. We have a little bit of additional noise in one of the bearings now. We're still trying to kind of identify. We thought maybe it was a little dry, like didn't have any lube, but we put some oil on it and doesn't seem to have changed it at all. So we're still trying to kind of identify what that noise is, just because it's new. We didn't have it on the smaller blades, but we're running the little bit wider blades now, just to see how they do. Whenever we go through some of this knotty stuff, they seem to track a little bit better and don't cause as many waves when going through. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at, and I'll get some time lapse at least of getting this cut up. I'm guessing there's going to be a fair amount of waste in it, just because if you look at it here, there's kind of that spot there, and obviously the couple of knots that we had to do, and then that piece down there. So really, if we can get the 4 2x6s out of it, that's kind of what we're after. So we'll just have to see how we do. So to start with on this one, because it is at the extreme limit of the sawmill, we initially ran the sawmill up and down just to see if it would make it out the end of the board. It's not quite there, so what we're doing here is trying to lift the log just a little bit and then use a cant hook to actually kind of shift it over. So we get it picked up and then we get it rolled so that that spot on the end is directly up, so we cut it off first. And then we use the jack to get this side raised up using that yardstick. And then I had quite a bit of dirt, so just do a quick brush, and these are going into the gravel, so just making sure that we get any of the gravel pieces off so that it doesn't hit the blade. The debarker should get that, but it'd still be hard on the teeth on it as well, so try to get any of the gravel off. So once we got that initial cut done, go ahead and rotate it and get it leveled up this direction as well. So you need to pick it up just a little bit. So just check the center pit there. Try to get those leveled up as best as possible, which typically levels the tree up fairly well. This side doesn't have near as much waste. The bow and it's kind of the other direction, so that's where a lot of the waste came from. This way is a little bit better that we were able to get the 2x cut off, and then with that live edge we'll go back through and square up that edge. Since we're trying to get 6s here, we'll kind of be looking for either a 6 or a 12. I don't think this one was quite big enough to have a 12 all the way across. That's typically what we're kind of looking for, is to either get a 12 or at least get that 6. And then any of the pieces in between, we'll try to get 2x4s or something like that out of it if that opportunity arises, just to maximize what we get out of these instead of having too much waste. So you can see whenever we get done with a cut, so I scrape it off as kind of he's going along, and then we stack the boards back here closest to the sawmill so that we can get them back on to square up that live edge and get a piece of lumber out of it instead of that live edge. And then just kind of doing a check to see what we ended up with. And figuring if we need to do another cut or go ahead and rotate and get a true cant out of it. So on this one we go ahead and rotate, get that cant, kind of do a couple measurements to see where exactly it needs to cut. And if there's not too much waste, we'll just do that one cut like this so that we have the cant, and then he can start going through each of the boards. And I'm just kind of showing the waste we had. So with that big hump in it, you can see on the end of the forks we had a pretty big waste piece. Other pieces weren't too bad, but you do end up with additional whenever you don't have a very straight tree or you have a big carrot in the tree where one end is much bigger than the other. And here's some of what we've gotten out of it. So that there, just kind of showing. We'll cut that out. So we try to scrape off as much as we can. Some of these we're able, once we get the water adjusted correctly, we can actually just flip them onto the bed rails and most of the dust will come off. But whenever it's too wet, the dust kind of sticks on, so you have to go through with a scraper and just kind of scrape that off. Makes it so that whenever you have to deal with it in the future, you don't have all that dust. These are going up pretty quickly after we cut them, so you don't have to worry about too much mold on something like that. But if you're going to store it, that moisture is going to be trapped in there and can kind of produce some mold issues as well. We had some issue with that on some other ones we had done. We didn't get cleaned off quite as well. Even with the stickering, you can still kind of have some spots that kind of get a funky spot in it. So since these are done, we go ahead and stack them kind of behind those live edge pieces and kind of signify that they're, you know, ready to be bundled, and just try to work everything kind of in a sensible pattern as far as what's done, so we're not having to you know, move stuff or work over stuff on some of the heavier pieces like the live edge that we're gonna have to put back on the mill. It'd be nice to have a little bit more room eventually to kind of lay some of this stuff out in different areas, but with our current setup I think this is kind of what we got, and maybe eventually whenever we move to the 100 acres and we kind of get things set up a little bit differently, we'll kind of have a spot where we can put finished lumber versus what needs to go back on the mill, and maybe have a little bit more room even in the building there to kind of set that stuff off. You're not having to carry it too far and you're just kind of setting it aside to then put it right back. And that may be something we can do here as we refine our process and figure out what works best. So before we start sawing up those next boards, get all that sawdust scraped into the corner, and then bring the mill back and start getting those live edge pieces loaded on and get them trued up. In circumstances where we have boards that are close enough, we'll put multiple on at a time if we can kind of get similar dimensions out of it. But anything that has big variations to where you're going to have more waste by doing it that way, we go ahead and just load them one at a time so that, you know, we can maximize what we get out of each one. So even though we ended up with a fair amount of waste on that log just because of its shape, we did end up with several boards. So some of these 2x4s we already had. I think we already had 10 of them here. I think there's now like 17 2x4s total of various sizes. You can see some of these 2x4s, they had some of that left on the end, but went ahead and just cut it, and then they can use whatever they need. He said he needed mostly 8-footers, but as you build stuff, you always need kind of little pieces here and there, so we figured we'd just mill it up and send it his direction. So the 2x6s, I think I mentioned, are for the gutter boards, so we have, he thought 4 of those, went ahead, and I think we got 7 out of this one. We're just going to send them all his direction. That's just kind of how it worked out with the tree. So that way he has some extras, and you can see there's some knots and stuff there, so so it gives them a little bit additional to play with. And then these are all 17 foot, so that's what we were able to get out of this tree. Was a 17 foot, or just shy of, so pretty decent length on some of this stuff. Had a little bit of twisting, but it wasn't too bad overall. And then on the very bottom, there's 2 2x8s. Again, just kind of how we got the cant going. He didn't specifically need any, but he has them and can come down if he needs them. So got several good boards out of this. I think we'll go ahead and bundle all of this 2x material up and work on getting it his direction. We have, I think I mentioned, one more log over there. That littler one that we'll be able to cut up, and we maybe do like 2x4s out of it, just so he has some additional ones of those. I know just from doing the projects we've done, we end up needing more, and it's nice to have them around, so probably do that just because it's not a very big tree. So thank you for watching the Schmitter's 100 Acre Woods as we get some of these 2x6s and 2x4s cut up. So continuing to get things ready for the chicken coop. So hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.